An important idea that a lot of people talk about on the internet is passive income. And I'm going to explain what that actually is today. And then after that, I'm going to counterintuitively tell you something that will probably save you a great deal of money, time, effort with passive income. And before you take a step away, I'm a business professor. I've been researching. I just looked at how many articles I've actually recorded. These are scientific articles. I've read like 3,500 scientific articles in my life. These are books. And I have a whole bunch of degrees in engineering and in business and different areas. So I think I'm a little qualified to think about this. One of the things, and I'm not patting myself in the back, but my wife and I are doing okay. I just want to repeat something or reiterate something with this, is that I'm not trying to brag at all. I'm just trying to save you from a world of hurt that we've all experienced, and we all do. So what is passive income? Passive income is this idea that you will get an income stream, or you'll generate an income stream. And an income stream is just basically some money that's coming in that is going to come in without any work involved. And it's a really easy idea that it just continuously comes in without any risk or work that's involved in the process of actually generating that revenue. Now, here's the particular challenge with that, is that so people in finance, people that are in the know and they sort of study this stuff, they say that there's only one kind of risk capital that exists that is relatively riskless in this world. It's not true at all. We always have risk that's involved, and that is actually investing in government treasury bills, of the US government treasury bills. And then we weight everything relative to those treasury bills. Now, here's the particular challenge with the idea of passive income. It doesn't acknowledge the fact that there's often just inherent risk in anything that you actually do. And what is risk? I want to tell you what risk actually is. There's two things that we're really concerned about. One of them is risk, and risk is the idea that we can predict the future given past information. We can come up with some sort of whereabouts on how likely some outcome is actually going to exist. And it's a complicated way of thinking about things, but it's the easiest way to dumb it down. The other thing is uncertainty. Now, uncertainty is something where you just don't know what's going to happen. So we can't predict what are the outcomes that are going to happen. So we don't really have a quantitative metric, a number to put on that. People that are interested in the financial things, financial returns of things, they're often very concerned with risk. But people that are interested in things where they're building up something, like maybe a leader of a large organization, maybe they are an entrepreneur, they're often concerned with uncertainty. And those things are a little different, but I'm not going to get too much details into that. But the basic story is that everything has some inherent risk and uncertainty. So your job, if you're thinking of passive income, is to find the things that provide the least amount of risk and uncertainty with generating revenue over many, many periods. Now, the problem with this line of logic is it just simply does not exist. Everything that is difficult to do requires some sort of risk and uncertainty. There's always moments when you do something that is challenging. And these are precisely the moments where you should be looking at, because these are the things that actually generate revenue in a long time. So one way to actually look at investing is thinking about solving problems for other people and solving problems for yourself. So investing is typically thinking about how can I find some way that I can use the money that I have, or the time, or, whether you're actually good at chatting or anything like that, any sort of resource that you have at your fingertips. You want to figure out a way that you can use this appropriately so a lot of people can use it better, right? So you are thinking about, how do I make sure that my time, my effort, my money that I have is spread out in such a way that other people can use that really well? And you're giving this money up. You're actually departing with money, resources, time, effort, all of those kind of things. And you're giving that up and you're putting into something else that you have no control over. That's essentially what risk is. And that's what investing actually is. That's why we're always talking about risk, because we're thinking about, do we actually get the money back? And if you are investing in most of the things that people say is passive income, those things tend to be extraordinarily risky. These are things like investing in homes. These are things where you are investing in, some sort of, maybe it's a course that you're setting up. All of these things are extraordinarily risky because you're going to put in a great deal of time, a great deal of money into something. It might be, maybe you're trying to create, maybe a website. I'm building my own website, so I completely understand. The idea is to actually get money back. And most of the times you actually don't. It's very hard to get that money back. So you're often neglecting or not thinking about the inherent risk of the action that you're doing. And what you often forget about with passive income is that there's lots of inherent risks that you're never ever anticipating. If I hear somebody say passive income, I usually think they probably are underestimating how challenging that this will actually be. Now, the things that we know that provide relatively good value in the long run, these tend to be things that are tried and true, and everybody knows about these things. And we tend not to call them passive income. They're not things like crypto or anything like that. They tend to be things like mutual funds, things like some sort of annuity that exists. I'm not a big fan of annuities because there's back end a lot of money that people take off these things. But there's some sort of financial instrument that has been around for a long time and a lot of people are really bored about. And those things tend to have a little bit better of a return time and time again. And it's a little bit more of a guaranteed return. So for me, with the thing that I'm trying to build, one of the things that I was trying to build is to build this platform. And then I would figure out the sort of financial return of making this platform. It's to create non-rejectable research papers and grants and other intellectual property. And I realized it's actually extraordinarily hard to do that because of things I never anticipated. The best possible use of my money would actually have been investing in things like General Electric or Google or some company I've never heard of, and yet they do extraordinarily well in the stock market. And these companies tend to be what are called part of an index or a larger index, or they're part of just the global economy that I will never be able to anticipate and understand completely by myself. That's why you invest in things that are long-term mutual funds. These boring things that exist, they tend to provide a pretty good return. And to give you an idea of what this actually is, these returns, and it seems little, it's 10% roughly per year. And that seems little. By investing in the best companies in the world, 10% doesn't seem like much. You put in $100 this year, you're going to get $110 next year. Doesn't seem like that much. But what we're looking at is a mathematical trick. The mathematical trick is that over time, there's this thing called compounding. Over time, it grows at a very, very high rate. And it's a very simple mathematical trick that is often very hard to anticipate, often hard to see and think about, but it does exist. And there's many reasons why it exists. I'm not going to get into it. But what I want you to think about is when you're doing anything like passive income or thinking like that, I want you to stop and pause and think about what are the hidden costs? What are the challenges I'm going to face? Why does it feel too good to be true? And what you'll realize is a lot of people have probably tried to do the same thing as you have, and they failed at it, or it didn't work out in the way that it was supposed to work out. So you can gather some data. You can go and just ask people how difficult this actually is. You'll realize it's extraordinarily difficult often to find these moments of passive income. Now, there's one other thing that's really important that I've neglected to talk about today, is that passive income, if there are opportunities, there's something that exists in this world that seem extraordinarily good. It usually means that there's somebody that's going to rush to it, other people beside yourself. And so if it looks like you're doing extraordinarily well and it's relatively easy to get, that means all of those returns, the money that you're generating often gets competed away in the long run. So because of that, and it doesn't matter whether we're in a capitalist system or a socialist system or whatever you want to say, but because of that, if we have these returns that are competed away over time, in the long run, unless you're putting in a great deal of effort, you're putting in a great deal of trying and iterating and going through and being conscious. If you're lending money to somebody, if you're not being that person that's on top of it, you're likely to lose money in the long run. Because somebody out there is going to want to trick you. They're going to either want to trick you or compete away all of that passive income that you're going to get. So before you think about getting passive income and what it actually is, I want you to think about, am I special? And if you think that you're special, you will be able to find that passive income. Trouble is, I don't believe any of us are really all that special. I think we're all average, ordinary, boring, tedious people. And if you think like that, you'll never make a mistake where you look for passive income. You're always going to look for ways that I need to work really hard. I know that this is never passive income. I'm going to do really simple things, like investing a little bit of my money. I try to aim for 10 to 20%. Our target is 15% of everything that we ever make in things that are really boring, that everybody has heard about before, and that some boring financial company would endorse. So I think about those things, mutual funds, index funds, and I don't even care what I'm actually investing in, as long as I'm investing broadly. And I'm always thinking about this return that I'm looking at is it worth my time? Do I think I'm extraordinary? Do I think I'm so good at this particular thing that I could beat everybody else? And including that I can predict the future. And if that's not the case, I'm going to be boring and ordinary and plain as much as I possibly can, and never look for those opportunities where there's passive income. Look for opportunities where there's growth. Look for opportunities where things are just doing fundamentally well in the future. Over the course of many people, over the course of a long, long time, where I will get up and I'll realize that because I'm investing 10, 15, 20% of everything that I ever make in boring things like index funds and mutual funds, when I get to be 65, there'll be a pretty good pot of money that's there. And that's it. That's the whole passive income thing. What you realize is that people that chase passive income, they end up getting burnt repeatedly, and they actually don't make a very good return in the long run.